Hi, what's up everybody? Today we're gonna talk about the reasons why I like Polish people more than Americans. Starting with number 9, the fact that they are very family oriented. So America, we're traditionally a lot more independent thinking. After you graduate college, you leave the house and you start your life. Whereas here in Poland, like in many other countries around the world, it's very common that people will stay home until their late 20s or until they get married. I think there's a correlation between countries that have a long troubled history with how strong a family is. You have constant communication with your family, being able to stay with a random cousin, your family always being involved and trying to help you out is really, really nice. And that's something that I will want personally for my kids. I don't really talk to my family that often, to be honest. I maybe call my mom once every month or two, same with my sister, and I barely talk to my dad, and that's just our culture. Number 8, strong societal Christian values. You can make an argument that the United States was also founded on Christian values, but it doesn't seem like it anymore. I feel like most people are in the middle, but in America, for some reason, we have the extremes of everything. Whereas here, even though a lot of the younger generation isn't religious per se, I would say society still follows like the Christian societal norms, practicing monogamy, nuclear family. There are viewpoints on safety and just crime in general. And I'm very comfortable with societies that have a Christian foundation because that's just what I'm used to. And when I go back to Asia, even though I look like everybody, I was raised in a completely different environment. The majority of the things that I believe about relationship and life and how to raise a family also come from those Christian values. Number 7, the concept of personal freedom with strong societal values. When you think about freedom, what does that even mean? In America, we're constantly told that we're the land of the free and we're allowed to do and say whatever we want. But I've really been questioning that a lot lately. If you've been following the news cycle for the last like 8 to 10 years, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, how do I say this without getting in trouble? The fact that he was a sitting president and he was removed from Twitter, the fact that the general mainstream media is so obviously biased in one direction when the whole entire corona was going on. If you were to say anything contrary to the jab, that was also suppressed. You know, when I think of freedom, I think of being able to walk around the streets and not have to worry about safety, being able to pretty much do whatever you want as long as you're not harming anybody else. And in America, I feel like we just have so many rules for everything, but every time we run into an issue, the solution seems to be more micromanagement. So we need to get the government more involved. We have to put more rules, more police officers. In America, we almost treat the general population like babies, like they can't think for themselves. And I guess it's also fair because a lot of times Americans are not the brightest. Whereas here in Poland, it seems like there's a general expectation that everybody has some form of common sense. And because if you were born and raised in Poland, you share a common history, a bunch of baseline values that are understood amongst the people. It's unfortunate because I think in America, we really need like a national disaster or a common enemy to bind us all together. And I think the last time we had something like that was 9/11. Because we haven't had any major wars on US soil, we lack perspective in how bad and ugly the world really is. And living here in Poland, we have a war going on next door. I'm friends with a lot of Ukrainians whose families were also affected by the wars. So I think people in other places around the world really value their rights a lot more because up until recently, a lot of these countries didn't have any rights. Something I admire about Polish people, they are very patriotic and not afraid to put their culture first and put their citizens first. I know back in the US, a lot of people are suffering right now because everything is so expensive, but we're constantly giving money to other people. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Because Poland has such a checkered past with so many different people backstabbing and invading them, they are so distrusting of other people. So their mindset is that we have to protect our way of life and our people. And there's a lot of people alive now that grew up during the tough communist times, right? So it's still a relatively fresh wound on Polish people's minds. So they don't take these freedoms for granted. I personally always respect people that defend their values and their homeland, and Poland is a perfect example of that. A lot of people will think that because Polish people are patriotic, it also means that they're racist, and that's kind of half true. I'm not gonna lie. Me personally, I haven't had a racist experience. Polish people are generally quite open to Asian people of all kinds. Poland in general is very open to legal immigrants. Contrary to popular belief, if you come here legally and you pay your taxes and you do everything the right way, Polish people will welcome you with open arms. They're just heavily against illegal immigration. They're not the same thing at all. So number 5, Polish hospitality is some of the best that I've ever experienced in the world. Maybe I'm in a different situation because I have a little bit of fame here in Poland, but every single city that I've been to, The people who have shown me around and all the people that I've met have been so warm and friendly and excited that I'm here experiencing their culture. Just because someone is polite to you doesn't mean that they are kind people. You can go to America and everybody's polite. And I would actually say a lot of Americans are actually quite kind as well, especially from like the South. But if you go to a place like Japan, Japanese people are very interesting because they are very polite and they won't commit a crime. But there's also like a coldness and a ruthlessness about their culture. Even though they may bow to you and let you pass and stuff, it doesn't necessarily feel sincere, and maybe they might not be kind people. But the general feeling that I get here in Poland is that Polish people are very kind, and all the experiences that I've had with the older crowd, yeah, sometimes they'll like yell at you, but for the most part, they always try to be helpful. Number 4, Polish people are very educated and intelligent. If you look at Polish heroes, a lot of them are intellectuals. They argue about things not because they just like to argue, or maybe sometimes that's the case. I don't know, who knows, right? But it's mainly because they're trying to find the best solution. And this is something that I actually like because I'm very direct. And if we have an issue in front of us, I don't want to do all of the pleasantries or have to watch what I say. I'm like, okay, what do we have to do to solve this problem? What do you think? What do you think? Let's argue the best solution and let's get it done. And I love that no BS attitude that Polish people have. I always say that I have strong opinions loosely held, which means that I've thought very deeply about my opinions. But if someone presents to me a better argument, okay, you know, that actually makes a lot more sense. You're right. Whereas in America, I think in general, our education system is not that good. People are quite ignorant. We have very strong opinions on things, but we have a loose understanding of where they may have come from or why we think the way that we do. And I also like how in this country, I feel like I can talk about anything. We can talk about drugs, we can talk about sex, we can talk about religion. It seems like no topic is off the table. Because in America, it feels like everyone's trying not to offend everybody, but because of that, we're not allowed to have some very interesting conversations. Just because we're talking about race does not make you a racist. It's like this weird paradox because America says that we don't care about race, but it's literally the thing that we talk about the most. And it's just this weird dichotomy of like, we can't just accept other people's differences. We always have to be separated by race and culture. Whereas here, I know that I am different and I look different, but Polish culture and Chinese culture are very, very similar. Every single European country has their own culture and language, and they've had to coexist with all these different countries. I think they're generally a lot more accepting of other races and cultures. Number 3, the value of hard work. Polish people are very hardworking people. Hard work is heavily valued here. It seems like in America, people are awarded with money and attention for doing the craziest things possible.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a good person. People throw their values out the window for fame because it brings a lot of opportunity to your life. And I think a little bit of that is happening here in Poland too, with people doing pranks or whatever. But I feel like there's still kind of a line where Polish people won't cross of public decency. I really appreciate Polish people's mentality on hard work. I think as a man, your value comes from the amount of work that you do. And this is actually traditional Chinese thinking as well. But there's a healthy respect for anybody who has a working position. So the people who are doing the trash, doing maintenance around the building. It feels like in America, blue-collar jobs are definitely like of lower status or looked down upon. But now that I get older and I'm not a handyman at all, I really respect people who can do that kind of work. And I think here in Poland, the overall mentality is just about mutual respect. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're working hard, you are worthy of respect. Whereas I think in America, it's a lot more about job title. I'm a realtor. Ooh, I'm a lawyer. Ooh, I'm a doctor. Whereas someone who's like a plumber or an electrician who is easily making a lot of money doesn't come with like the same status. And I also think Poland has a better work-life balance in general compared to America. America is very extreme, and this is both a good and bad thing, right? We're so innovative and competitive and ambitious. It's just in our culture. I don't think Polish people are quite as ambitious. Number 2, Polish people are very honest and humble people. Some cultures have a bigger emphasis on money and showboating than others. Polish people don't really care what you do. They don't really care how much money you make. It's more important that you are a good person and that you get along and you follow the rules. Polish people seem to value high character, doing a good job, being true to your word, strong values over the fact that you just make a lot of money. Like every time I've gone on dates here, the girls here don't seem to care about what I do or how much money I make. It's all about the vibe and if we can get along. Polish people are not super loud. They don't like buying super expensive stuff. Maybe you can see a little bit of that in Warsaw, but for the most part, Polish people are just happy with their family, having a house, and just the simple things in life. And number one, I just admire Polish people's sense of humor. I think they're quite funny. It can be dark, it can be abrasive, but I don't think it's ever mean-spirited, if that makes sense. And I would rather be in a society where we can joke about everything. I like being able to make jokes that sometimes cross the line, but it's supposed to be funny. It's not bad intentions. Whereas in America, if you make a joke, depending on the audience, people will be like, ooh, you can't say that. Ooh, that's offensive, and try to police what you say. I don't like being in societies like that. I like when people are able to openly joke freely and things are just not that serious. I highly recommend that you guys watch this video next. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Peace.